Hi, my name is Jane, and I'll be talking about developing a data visualization style guide, specifically looking at Dataviz applications. So this is specifically for Slack, which is a brand I chose to study. And when I was trying to find where they apply data, I only found three ways they did this. So the first one was through a blog post. This was pulled from an article they published end of March of this year. The second way was through a dashboard, so this is interactive. And if you have access to the Slack application on your desktop, you can see members' activity through a dashboard. And finally, I found this presentation online, which is available publicly, and it looks at their earnings on a quarterly basis. So let's go through each of these individually. So the first one we have is a blog post. And immediately the biggest challenge I noticed with this is it's not really effective in terms of communicating through color. If you look at the legends, there's 6 colors, which is a lot to go through back and forth. And it's hard to see the contrast. There's not enough contrast between the lighter colors, the difference. So here what we have is they compare data across different regions, and it's looking from one time period to another time period, the older time period. And there's 6 colors here. So this is nominal data, which means it's categorical. So there isn't really a need for it to be one color per region. It doesn't really have much of a value add, since you can tell that they're different things based on spacing and the label as well. I can sort of understand it if it's because they want to compare colors in this way, because they had these 2 images in the blog post. But I don't think it's necessary. It makes it more confusing and complicated. There's a way to simplify this. And so what I did was, instead of comparing it by region, so one color per region, and also another color by period, what I've done is just remove the color for region and only have it compared by time periods. So here we have the purple, which is part of the Slack's core color, and that's where your eyes should go to immediately, which shows a current period, and the light gray shows a previous period, which you can compare against. So this, I think, is a lot more effective in communicating what they're trying to communicate here in terms of data. It's a lot more straightforward. I don't think color should be decorative, especially when you're trying to communicate data. You're trying to gain insight, you're trying to state a certain perspective effectively and quickly. So using colors to make it more complicated isn't ideal. This is the dashboard, and I thought the colors were straightforward. It's very clear where things are, and it's well labeled. If you look at it through a lens of accessibility, so what I've done was I put this on, there's a tool called colorblindness.com, and it's free for to use. You can just upload an image and apply a certain type of color blindness. So there's different types, and proanomaly is a type of red-green color blindness. In this case, you can see the colors quite well, which is a good thing. And so what they've done is they've chosen the right colors to have enough contrast against each other. This is the final one, which was the deck. In this presentation, I've only pulled a couple slides from it, but there's a little bit of inconsistency if you look at it compared to the previous 2 applications. I think in terms of how they communicate the data, there could be better ways to show them. So you see that the inconsistency is there, and it's also not very effective in terms of the blog post and how they're communicating the data. So when I was thinking about how Dataviz style guides are put together, there are 3 things that come to mind when I was studying them. The first thing to consider is size of company. So if it's a really, really large company, you might want to have something that's more comprehensive, that covers a lot more topics, and is friendly for people who are not designers. The second thing to look at was the range of Dataviz applications. So for example, I just looked at 3, and it's important to consider where we think the data might exist, because that means you have to consider how to design for that. And the final thing to consider is the main target audience. So is it only designers who's accessing this guide, or is it general company? And if that's the case, if it's the whole company accessing it, then you have to be able to define all the jargon and demystify a lot of terms and make things really clear. So that's it for this part. Next part, I'm going to be looking at specific case studies of style guides done, and I'll be going in depth into them. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next part.